So one of the often unseen aspects of lodge living is land care. And kind of a big subsection of that is to make sure that human impact is reduced. Obviously there are roads that allow us to traverse the reserve and see the animals, but we need to make sure that things like erosion is being managed, and the impact we have is negligible. We want this to remain as much of a wilderness area as possible. We want to make sure that the area looks pristine, and one example of this is the Londolozi riverbed. It's pretty much sacred ground for a lot of the Londolozi staff, and we felt a couple of years ago that it was being overused, so we declared a specific section of it in particular a no-go area unless you absolutely have to go and get a sighting. We don't want tire tracks make it look impacted. So this morning we had an amazing sighting of the Makomsava female up on those boulders over there, and the only way to get a good view was to drive down into the sand.
There she is through there.
So this afternoon we've come back to rake over our vehicle tracks, just cover them up. They will disappear eventually because of animals crisscrossing the riverbed, elephants and yard. There's a lot of traffic through here from the animal kingdom, but we want to nip it in the bud and set a good precedent. So we've come to clean up the tracks, but I'm actually here talking while Guy and Sean are raking, so I better go help them.
Jamo came walking along like a hippo. We realized that it's a more effective way of hiding the vehicle tracks. So I think we're going to change techniques.
Go full hippo.
Full hippo.
Guy's gone for a much shorter, sharper stroke. I've gone for a nice, long, even stroke.
Right, are we done?
Yep, job done.
Now if you cast your mind down this riverbed, you see nothing but pristine sand. This afternoon we are sitting at one of the local waterholes. There's a very unobtrusive bump sticking out of the water, and from what we understand it's a tiny portion of a dead waterbuck. Can really see nothing at the moment, just a little bump, but we're going to sit here and see what happens. So often crocs won't even feed on a carcass for a couple of days, purely because they need to wait for it to rot and the meat to soften before they can rip it off a little bit more easily. Their teeth aren't made for slicing. Their teeth are made for gripping, and that's literally it. Lunge out, grab the prey, rip it into the water, and then drown it, and that's it. And their teeth are literally designed to hold on so the prey can't escape. And then once the meat's rotten, what they'll do is they'll go into what's known as a death roll. So they'll grip and then roll their bodies 360 degrees along an axis, and once the meat's rotten, if they've got a strong enough grip, it just tears it off, and then they wolf down big chunks. So given that apparently this waterbuck was only dragged in today, we might not actually see any feeding activity. A couple of hippos that have come in to say hello. I thought when I was looking through the long lens just now that I saw an extra little pair of nostrils come up. There might even be a tiny little calf with this female. Females will sometimes remove themselves from the main herd or the main pod to give birth. Oh yeah, there's some little nostrils coming up. Yeah, there's a hippo there that doesn't want to be seen, just a little pair of nostrils. So I think there's a very small calf. It's hard to tell the size just from the nostrils, but oh, I think about it, they look actually bigger than a tiny calf. Well, we'll wait and see. Okay, well, it's not a tiny calf, it's in fact a medium-sized hippo, so not as exciting as all that. No, it's great, it's a hippo, but not the newborn we were hoping for. Well, there's nothing happening at the carcass. Whatever's feeding on it is feeding on it underwater. There's something feeding on it, whether it's a small croc or not, I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't think the bigger croc would stand for it, and it's not a particularly big croc. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little walk around the waterhole, see if there's anything interesting to find on the ground, and then by the time we get back here, the sun may well have gone down, and then yeah, there won't be much light to see. But we'll be following here in the next couple of days and just seeing kind of the progress of what's happening. So just down here is the scrape where this waterbuck was pretty unceremoniously dragged into the water. And yeah, you can see where it was dragged down, and it's just over here, this little bump. But nothing really going on there at the moment, I think. Oh, geez, no, wait, whoa, hang on, it's a big bull. I can see its horns. Okay, so the plot thickens. What killed the big waterbuck bull? My guess, another waterbuck. You know, they'll have violent clashes for territory, for breeding rights to females. You know, it's not just lions and leopards and the big cats and the predators that fight to the death. The continuation of your genes is just as important, whether you're a little steenbok or, you know, a bull elephant. So from the big to the small, you need to be reproducing, and a lot of the time the way to do that is to fight. So I imagine this waterbuck was killed by a rival bull. Can't say for sure, and we never will be able to say for sure, because we're not exactly going to be able to do a forensic analysis on his carcass. But hey, if we find a bull in the next day or two with blood all over his horns, maybe that'll tell us something. Okay, wow, if ever a leopard den needed a stamp of approval as to its security, it just got one. A double plus rating, 10 out of 10, 5 gold stars. Man, we arrived to the Makomsava den this morning, and there were 2 hyenas sniffing around, and one was just going right inside the den, inside a little cave. But yesterday morning we saw the cubs come out of cheapers. That was heart in the mouth stuff. I mean, leopards choose dens specifically so that big predators like hyenas can't get in. They can't stick their heads all the way in and access the little recesses where the cubs are hiding. Those poor little cubs, they're sitting in there terrified, and there's a hyena coming in to try and kill them. Imagine how terrible that is. But luckily this thing comes equipped with slam lock gates and triple padlocks. I'm betting the cubs are still safe and sound, and they're not going to move now until their mum comes back and tells them it's safe. So hyenas have moved off, thank goodness. I think they realize there's something there. They can smell the leopards, but you know, the cubs will just sit tight in a deep crevice and not move, and the hyenas eventually lose interest. So they've moved off, and so will we, because the mother's not here, so the cubs aren't going to come out. So phew, nervous start to the day. well, the longer you work in the bush, the harder it is to see something for the first time. But this morning's pretty special. We've got a triple-banded plover, which is a very small bird, only about 16 centimeters tall, and it's chicks. And this is the first time I've ever seen chicks of this species, and they are tiny little things. So we're in the Sand River, and it's just a little sandy island here. The camouflage is amazing. One's hiding behind some elephant dung, and it just blends right into the sort of stony sand that forms the riverbed. And one is actually sheltering under the parent. I don't know if it's the male or the female. This is nature at its very finest. These tiny little chicks, so vulnerable, but yet they've got these amazing protective mechanisms. Camouflage and hiding under the adult. I think whichever parent it might be, it's probably a little bit nervous with us here. So we're going to leave them be. But this is a very, very unique sighting. Hyenas were going absolutely crazy this morning, and we got in to find that there was a whole clan feeding on a big Inyala bull. As we were watching them, a pack of wild dogs came in. There must have been about 10 of them there. Hopefully they got a bit of a feed before the hyenas got there. Whoa, whoa. That's what happens when you chase wild dogs. Hopefully they got a bit of a feed and they're taking us back to the pups to regurgitate and feed them. Fingers crossed. Okay, so they've just had a drink and they didn't stop for long, they just kept running. We're now getting, hopefully not completely ahead of ourselves, and starting to put wagers on where we think this new den might be. It'll be very exciting. When there's so many of them and they're on the move, there's so many hunting opportunities that present themselves. So we're following them and they all suddenly just ducked off in one direction, so we've lost them for now, but we're hoping they're going to regroup in this big area behind us, and they were steadily heading in that direction. So hope is not lost just yet. We just got to find them again. The jackets have come off and we headed off on foot. There's a big drainage line in front of us where in the past wild dogs have denned their pups before. Bit of a Hail Mary wishful thinking at this stage, or we're going to walk that drainage line, have a look at all the different termite mounds and just see if maybe that's where these pups are being kept, and the pack has already got back there, hopefully. We've just found them. I love it when a plan comes together. Just behind us in that thicket, heart's still trying to come down, but two wild dog adults just jumped out from the grass. There's a lot of big termite mounds on the bank here. We could see some more running. So now we've got to go back to the car and we'll come in here and see if this is where they are. That was awesome. Just as we were getting close to where we'd seen those adult wild dogs on foot, we heard them calling in a completely different area. Yeah. They all crossed the road just in front of us, all the pups and the adults. A phenomenal sight. It was quick, but it looks as though these pups are a little bit wary of the vehicle still. We've heard that they've only ventured away from their den site and been on the move with the adults once or twice, so everything's still brand new for them, but I'm sure if they hang around in the area they'll start to get a bit more relaxed. So we'll come back and keep trying and seeing if we can get better views of them, but so exciting nonetheless. And we started the morning off with a beautiful view of an African fish eagle swooping up to land in a dead tree with a, looked like a big catfish in its claws, talons. And we sat around for 20 minutes waiting for it to start feeding, but it opted out of that idea and flew off again. So, so much for that. Beautiful birds. They're very efficient hunters. They spend significantly less than 10% of their day actually hunting because they're pretty good at it, and they'll swoop down and snatch fish out of the water. They've got specially scaled skin on their feet that helps them grip the slimy fish as they fly up. But a lot of their food is actually robbed, as the herons and other birds, water birds, will catch fish around the fringes of water bodies. Fish eagles swoop in and steal the fish from them. So they're kind of like the hyenas of the skies in some ways. They'll steal from birds that have done some hard work. Right, we have a date with some leopard cubs this morning. We're going to go to the Makomsava den, see if she's there. If she's not there, if the female's not there, we're not going to see the cubs. They're too small to be venturing out by themselves, but let's go and have a look. Okay, the female's here. She's just lying down in some long grass next to the den. Our hope is that she climbs up and calls the cubs out. We don't know how long she's been here for. She looks a bit sleepy, so she might have had a long innings with them and just wants some rest now. So as is so often the case, we're just going to wait. Okay, the female's starting to yawn. Looks like she's thinking of getting moving. Our fear is that she's going to leave the den. She did this exact thing the other day. We arrived, she was here just as the sun was coming up, and she yawned a couple of times and just marched straight away. So, but you never know. She's still here and they're here somewhere, so let's see what happens. Okay, wow, so she's called them out. They both came out, and then I moved a little bit to grab a camera, and one scuttled back in. So, you know, the further they are from a little crack that will keep them safe, the more vulnerable they're going to feel if there's any kind of movement from us. So we're just going to be very quiet and just sit here for a while. The female's going to lie on the most exquisite boulder. Oh, no. Oh, she's moving. Oh, no, no. Oh, that makes life tough. Oh, that makes life tough. I think she's seen something. I think she's seen an antelope or something. She looked up, and that means the cubs aren't going to come out. She might just be moving around to the far side of the den. We'll go check. But, oh, she might just be moving off. That's frustrating. This is very much part of the habituation process of the cubs. If they see us move or there's a bit of a noise, oh, there goes the female. They just scuttle back into the den just to hide. They're not too sure about us, but the fact that the mother's there, she tells them it's safe, she'll call them out again, and then they realize, oh, this big green thing's actually no danger, and then they get used to us, and then it's fine. Then we can have an amazing viewing. So we, unfortunately, going to have to leave the den now. We're going to stick with the mother. The cubs aren't going to come out if she's not here, but maybe she's seen something she wants to go hunt. If we're lucky, she might come back, but let's see what happens. Well, it doesn't look like she's going to go back to the den. Sadly, so that was a brief view of the cubs, but still amazing to see them. She is walking, I don't want to say with purpose, but she's walking. So let's stick with her, see where she goes. She doesn't look that full. If she'd come from a kill, I imagine she would be. If she's going to go on the hunt, we don't want to stick with her too long, because she obviously wants to try and get some food, and she's got 2 little cubs to feed. Not that they're eating meat, but she needs to produce milk for them, so they're very high energy demands on her body at the moment. So she needs to be hunting or feeding almost more than she normally would, and we don't want to impact that by being with her and possibly scaring prey that she might have had a chance to go after. So we'll stick with her for 5-10 minutes. If she goes to a kill, fantastic. If she doesn't, then we'll leave her be. Well, leopards are the ultimate opportunists, and she nearly got a freebie there. Two little dikers came running past. She just suddenly took off running. I don't even know if we captured it on film. We'll have a look now. It looked like I didn't even see it was a pair, so maybe it was a male chasing another male or a female and a male. I don't know. I think it just caught her by surprise. So shame. Now she's just scanning the ground, seeing if there's any more where that came from. Even if they've already got a kill, leopards won't pass up an opportunity to catch something else. The meat's fresher, it's more food, it'll last her for longer. You know, she never knows when she's going to get another opportunity, so they're not one to pass one up when it comes along. Okay, it seems fairly evident she's not going back to a kill. If she was, she would have almost certainly gone straight there. So she probably wants to hunt. We're going to leave her be. She's in a great spot there. There's a little pool down in the dry riverbed near where she is, and I think she might just stake that out for a while, see if anything comes to drink. But yeah, we'll let her do her hunting without disturbing her. Cubs are safe. Both accounted for. Good morning.